there, Debbie Z. Lattuga, and I'm bringing you another podcast episode of Business, A Bridge to Breakthrough. And I am so excited. I'm here with Melanie Gorman from Crownsville Media. And the reason I'm so excited to be talking with her today is because business owners really struggle with their online footprint. And she's an expert, so I'm really excited to be talking to her. So thanks for being here, Melanie.
Oh, thanks, Debbie. It was so nice of you to invite me.
Yeah, I'm super excited because you have a skill set that, although I have awareness of, it's not what I help my business clients do. So, real quickly, just give me a brief introduction of your business and the specific problems that you help your clients solve.
So I own a business called Crownsville Media. We're out of Crownsville, Maryland. And we do website production. We do SEO, a lot of strategy, a lot of like helping clients discover how the world looks for them, like how a stranger would look for you. So we do content creation, we do Google ads, we do a ton of different online presence kinds of things. I have a specialization in mental health. So I'm a trained mental health therapist. And I've worked in the mental health space for 20, 25 years at this point. So about 80% of our clients are there, but we do all kinds of business strategies for people in other industries when they really want their website to show exactly like who they are and who they want to attract as a client.
Yeah. Well, what inspired you to start the business? Like, what was the initial vision you had when you started it?
That's a good question. So I started it 3 years ago. My story is that I trained to be a therapist. I worked for John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I worked for John for 8 years, and that was a lot of fun. I did not know websites at the time. I helped create a coaching program, believe it or not. So this is 2001, right? So long before coaching was what it is today. We created a coaching program based on his books, put it online, like create a membership, like all these things that people do now. We did way back when. And then I left working for John because I was never going to be John. There's only one John. So I went to work for a company called Your Tango. And Your Tango is a, big content production website, millions and millions of people on the website every month. So it was like going from the, like a individual business to like this explosion of content. And I learned so very much. And during that tenure, I started working with small business owners, primarily therapists, writers, and coaches on how to attract clients to their business. And when the pandemic started, I wanted more time with my family, like everybody else did. But I also kind of realized that I wanted to do more for my clients. Like I was sort of limited at Your Tango because I couldn't really get into the where do your leads come from? How are you closing people? Like, what did your photo shoot do? Like, how did you, like, what's your messaging? I couldn't get into a lot of that stuff because it was just straight up SEO. So I wanted to do more. So I went out on my own 3 years ago and it's been, a lot of fun. It's been great and helped lots and lots of people. I'm a big believer in the ripple. Like I help them, they help the world. I'm contributing to that. Like, especially in mental health, that's a massive, massive driver of why I get up in the morning. So
Yeah.
that's my story.
Well, who helps the helpers, right? So the helpers are out there giving, right? And so it's wonderful to be able to be in the position to be able to help those that are helping others. So reflecting on your journey so far, and I'm talking about like from when you started your business, can you think of a challenge that kind of stood out that kind of looked like a roadblock, but you kind of figured out what to do? Like, what was that? Because we all have them. We all have more than one.
Right.
What was that? And what did you do to kind of figure that out?
So let's be honest, the biggest roadblock is me. I am the thing that is, all bucks stop here, right? So I don't know, like going from being an SVP to running my own business. I knew a lot about running a business, but there's a lot to learn. So constantly on this churn of learning something new, trying something new, very much on my own. This year I got to a place at the end of the year where I had a team, we were successful, and I feel like especially in the age of AI, that if I'm not spending enough time on a day-to-day like learning about how AI impacts my clients, I'm failing. right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I have a goal for this year that by July, I want to really get my relationship with my time to a place where there is time built into every day to learn what the latest and greatest stuff is, because I'm a strategist. I mean, if you were to boil everything I do down to my clients, I'm a strategist for them. I'm a thinking partner. I help them suss out how the world is looking for them, but like, what do they want to call it for their own brand? There's so much that goes into that. And AI is absolutely everywhere. And people don't understand how it's impacting their lives.
Yeah.
So, in some ways, it's a tool, but I'm only going to be as useful as I know it and I'm ahead of the curve. So, I've been working with AI for at least a year at this point. And, my goal is really to get out of the way of I know it because I don't know it. Right. Like I know a lot more about AI than the average person does, right? Especially from a consumer use. But I, are we back?
I think we're back. Yep, there was a little glitch there. So you were saying you know it better than the average consumer, but then I
I know
didn't hear the
AI, yeah, I know AI better than the average consumer, but because it's evolving at such a rapid pace, staying ahead of it and how it affects content creation, ad production, website development, like branding, like photographs, like there's so many different bits and pieces to it. So, you know, I'm the big thing in the middle, right? So, my goal is to honor that and to spend some time every day learning something new.
Yeah. So just a quick question, because as a coach, this is the way my brain always works. So what's the action plan by July? So by July, you want to be able to really know that you've got time carved into every day.
Yeah.
What's the action plan that takes you from where you are to there? Like, what's the strategy? Because wanting it to happen and having it happen are two
Mhm.
different things. So have you thought about the action
Oh,
plan for how you're
yeah.
going to figure that out?
Well, I'm a doer, right? Like I'm a get stuff done kind of person, right? So I live by my calendar. So for me, nothing exists in life if it's not on my calendar, right? So I have carved out time. I've started, so, what is it? We're recording this on sometime in February. So I have blocked out time every Friday for not an hour, but like 4 or 5 hours to really sit down and spend time learning the new things that I need to learn, practicing with the new tools, experimenting. I tend to, all these AI tools, you can buy them for, a month, you can try them out and then you can cancel. So there's a ton of those things that I spend just as a kid a little bit, like having fun with them, because I think part of it is about everybody wants AI to make their life easier and it's faster, more like we want all of that. But the reality is, like, does it work? Like, does it actually deliver? Like, when you put your photo into that AI image tool, like, do you actually get something you can use out of it? So, I have time carved out every Friday. I also am an avid ebook reader, or ebook listener, I should say. So I have a lot of commuting time. I have two kids that I have to drive hither and yon. I'm a mom taxi. So I'm always in the process of downloading a new book. So, that's how I'm doing it at this point.
Yeah. Big fan of ebooks ever since I was a CEO of a company back in 2012. I'm embarrassed to say how many I have. I'm not embarrassed to say how many. I have hundreds in my library, and
Uh,
I've read, not listened to 95% of them.
yeah.
Same sort of way. And they're always business related.
Yeah.
They're never the girl got lost in the woods and what happened to her. They're always furthering my knowledge to be able to either help me or
Mhm.
help my clients.
I think
Um, Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think coming up with a different relationship with time is also part of it, right? Because time doesn't just exist as an entrepreneur when you're sitting in front of your computer, right? So, like 7 days a week, you're working in a lot of ways. So I think there's also a place where I get up earlier. I'm a 5 a.m. out of bed person, right? I work before the kids get up, right? But then I'm going to finish this call with you and I'm going to go spend 2 hours with my kids right before they go off and do sports. So that's one of the joys of being a business owner, is that you're not on somebody else's schedule
Right.
and having some responsibility to on my calendar is the other things I have priorities for. That's the other way I'm going to get a better relationship with time.
Yeah. I do
Yeah.
find that for many people, um, when they have tasks in front of them, the thing that can hold them back from executing is looking at the size of the task and
Mhm.
saying, that's too big of a mountain. Not realizing, I packed a whole house to move from the East Coast to the West Coast. I started a year in advance, and my goal was a box a day.
Mm-hmm.
Either a box a day packed or a box a day trash or a
Yeah.
box a day donate. And in a year, in about an hour a day, maybe even less, I
Mm-hmm.
was able to completely, because we've all done those moves where that last week is like the worst. It's
Oh,
hell week. It's horrible. I
yes.
just didn't, and I was working. I couldn't afford to have a week where my life collapsed and I wasn't able to meet. Right? I wanted to be able to do that. Well, guess what? I'm now really good at that. And so people underestimate the value of
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes a day or
Yeah.
20 minutes a day over time.
Mm-hmm.
As an ebook reader or listener,
Mm-hmm.
we read all our books in 15 minutes at a time, driving from here to there. Maybe we get an extra hour while they're at practice, while we're watching, but we're listening.
Mm-hmm.
But in 15 minutes a day, you can read 12 books a year in 15 minutes a day. And
Right.
that's a really powerful strategy that so many people underestimate. I know you have your 4 or 5 hours of time, which is wonderful. I
Mm-hmm.
would argue you probably could find snippets throughout the day, throughout the week,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you could, for instance, of 15 minutes every day plus your 4 hours gives you an extra hour,
That's true. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Of time. Um, so where do you see your business in the next 3 to 5 years? I know we can't factor in AI because we don't know what that will look like, but where would you like to see your business in the next couple of years?
So, along with the time thing, I really want to determine what scaling looks like. You know what I mean? So, I've been in business for 3 years. I think this word scaling is a bit of a trap, right? Everybody says, when I listen to, business consultants that talk about, how do you generate more income? How do you grow the business? How do you do all these things? I think scaling is something that I want to understand what that looks like for me. So, I would like to see, you know, the business grow. I have a core team that I've been nurturing, but they're all contractors, right? Love to see if somebody, how that plays out, where people go from contractor to employee, what that really looks like. Um, so, and I'd like to stay ahead of the SEO curve. I think that there's something really powerful about saying, yeah, I can help you get on the first page of search for Google, which I can, right? But this AI interrupter thing is something that has to be managed.
It's an
So,
unknown. Yeah.
it's a very, and I mean, listen, like I wrote an article on my website about this, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or something. It's not the first unknown, right? So this is the thing we all have to keep in common. I mean, I've been in this space long enough. Like when I was at Your Tango, we had two major Google penalties, like millions of people, traffic lost, right? Because of Google penalties. Then there was social media that showed up on the scene. Nobody knew Facebook was going to do what it did and interrupt, let alone Instagram, let alone TikTok, right? So all of these things have interrupted, and this industry is constantly reinventing itself. So I want to continue to stay ahead of the curve, stay ahead of the curve for the space that I'm in. And I think niching is the way that it's going to go. I mean, when you just sort of like ripple the math out and you start thinking about more and more and more and more and more, it's the people that are doing original research, that have something unique to say, that are having an authentic conversation like you're having right now, right? Those are the people that are going to be ahead of the curve because
Hmm.
that's what people want to read and listen to and participate in. So
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that in the next
Yeah.
3 to 5 years for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and right, there's always been unknowns, right? AI isn't the first one that's come along, right? First of all, there's an illusion that we know anything about what's going to happen in the future, right?
There,
We're
there.
just basing the future on the past or the present, right? Well, it's been this way, so it's going to kind of be that way.
Continue.
Um, so if you had I want to get back before I ask the next question because you brought up something really important, which I think is really significant for the business owners. Um, Sometimes more isn't better, it's just more.
Oh, yeah.
And a question that I stumbled across in listening to books last year, what is enough? What is enough? Right? Do you need $1 million business? Well, you might really be passionate about having $1 million business. If that's really important and a core thing for you, then you
Mhm.
should have $1 million business. But I also met with a business owner 2 weeks ago who was running his business like a job. He was in
Mhm.
construction and he worked in the business and was
Mhm.
thrilled with having the business pay him a salary.
Mhm.
Thrilled.
Yeah.
Didn't do any marketing, no SEO, no Google My Business, no website, just a basic, here's my phone number, you can find me. And that
Mhm.
worked great for him. And I'm like, that's awesome. You don't need to build a bigger business because you think you should.
Mhm.
What is the right business for you? What is the right context? Well, now you'd like to not necessarily work in your business.
Mhm.
Now you'd like to work less, but make the same amount of money. What are the strategies? What sort of marketing, Google, what things are you going to do? Because it's
Mhm.
still, I want the same result. I just don't, it's the relationship with time. I
Yeah.
still don't need $1 million business, but I'd like to be able to fund my lifestyle without working 60 hours a week.
Sure. Certainly.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's what's right for you. And I think too often, I think the world tells business owners that if you're not $1 million business owner, you're not a real business owner. And then guess what? If you're at 1 million, there's another message. It's five. Five's the
Yeah.
number. If you're at five, it's 10.
Yeah.
If you're at 10, it's 20.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's a story that Dan Sullivan talked about. Big business coach for many, many years, and wrote a book and talked about a guy that he coached that wanted $1 million business.
Mhm.
When he got to 1 million, he wanted to 5 million, and he always felt like a failure, always talked like a failure. He sold his business at $20 million because he was such a failure.
Ugh, that's sad.
And Dan's like, I just couldn't get him. His perspective was most of us measure our success looking forward, but you really can only measure your success looking backwards. What have I achieved,
Yeah.
right, in this last year? What did you hit your goal last year? Oh, I didn't. It was a terrible year. Well, where did you start the year? Well, at about 40% less. Okay, so, and then they go, oh, kind of didn't really think about that, right? But I didn't hit my goal, so I failed. And that was this guy's sort of perspective, which is why um, Dan wrote the book called The Gap in the Gain. And
Mhm.
we all measure our success looking forward at the gap. But in
Mhm.
reality, the only really way to measure it is looking back, which is the gain, right?
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
love that. If you had unlimited resources, what change or improvement would you make? I love that question.
Oh my gosh,
And
that's
the
a great
resources
question.
could be time
To my business, the change I would
to your
make,
business. Yeah.
um, I would hire someone that is sort of a hybrid personal assistant meets like I would lose all of the busy work I do. Like this morning, I was thinking about this. Is funny you asked this question. This morning, I was driving, listening to the book I'm listening to, and I am one of those people that uses every resource at my disposal. So I'm driving, my phone's in the little thing here. I'm looking at Waze, and I'm listening to this book, and I get this idea. So I hit the microphone, and I send myself an email. Right? I will talk to myself on a regular basis like that because you never know when your inspiration hits. Um, and what he was talking about was this idea of letting go of all of the things that take away from being able to do the work you want to do. So I would hire someone to help me answer email. I would hire someone to help me with invoicing. I would hire someone to help me with, I wouldn't hire someone to do my books necessarily because I feel like I don't want to get away from cost. I think that's a slippery slope. But I would hire someone to help me with the minutia tasks that prevent me from being the strategic thinker that I am with people because I'm so busy doing these tasks. Like yesterday was Sunday. I spent 6 hours yesterday doing invoices and running reports for clients, right? And making Loom videos because I'm one of those people that wants whatever I'm going to tell someone to be understandable. And we have so many tools. Like I'll show you the screen and I'll talk you through it and I'll explain it to you. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not just going to go, here's the numbers. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Right. So I would hire someone off the bat first thing to help with all the busy work. And I would really want someone that loved people, right? Like I would want someone whose whole like, you know, vibe in life is to be with people, not forcing someone to take on that role because it was the right pay rate or it was the right amount of time or it was work from home or blah, blah, blah. No, I want someone who loves people.
Yeah.
From there, I would scale my business further by looking at the different levels of clients that I could get through the door that are really the right client for me. Right.
Right.
So I like a lot of 3-year entrepreneurs, right? I'm a yes person. I'm gonna get it done. I'll work on Sunday. I'll da da da. But I would narrow my focus. I
You
would be
would
the
get
best.
more discerning in who you helped and the alignment that you had with them.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to make can I make a suggestion about your vision, right? Because I'm a coach and I can't ever listen to somebody. What's stopping you from hiring that VA? And I know I heard you say someone that can also grow with the company.
Huh.
I will say that that person who loves people and the person who loves details aren't, that's a unicorn. That's
Yeah.
kind of a unicorn. And what if we were working together, what I would say is solve the problem that you're facing today, which
Mhm.
is get that administrative stuff off your plate. Get
Yeah.
it off your plate, find someone that can do just that task. Now,
Mhm.
hire them, use some personality assessments and hire them that they might have potential to be that other person,
Yeah.
but also look at the potential that that might be two people and that's okay. That one person is my detail person that's doing my emails and my invoicing and that kind of stuff because that's what they're really good at. And
Yeah.
there's someone else out there that's that other, has that other skill. And people say, well, but people want to work full time. Not true. Not true. There
Yeah.
are millions of people that you can find, contractors that
Yeah.
that work on contract to do a certain thing for a certain business owner.
Mhm.
And they're more and more, I think, since the pandemic, that
Mhm.
gig economy of being a narrow focus in the skill set that you offer is now out there.
Yeah.
Um, but solve the more time problem of the administrator first, but
Yeah.
hire with the potential and present the potential. This role could grow into this.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
and you want someone that goes, I'm excited about that, right? That's something that excites me because you can find people that do both, but it is usually exclusive, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
they're not usually, and people want, they're like, well, I want someone that can solve all my problems. And I'm like, solve the first one first, then
Mhm.
figure out how you're going to solve the second one, right?
Thank you. Good advice.
Easy. Hey, my pleasure.
Mhm.
So what would, because I think we've talked about, I want to talk about balance, but I think you've talked about the fact that you're carving out some time.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, you're also working weekends, which does actually create balance because now you're able to do more things. And because you don't mind doing work on a Sunday, you're getting more things done. And you
Mhm.
talked about, carving out that relationship with time. What's a piece of advice you'd offer someone who's struggling to take their business to the next level? And I want you to answer it in two separate ways. Number one, talk about the clients that you serve. Like,
Mhm.
how are you helping them do that? And
Mhm.
then more generally to a business audience, how they would take their business to the next level. So
I mean, I
first specifically to your business.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is uh, to be curious about what solutions actually look like. You know what I mean? Because there's there's sort of like solutions that people expect. You know, like when I say part of the solution to taking my time back is to work some on Sunday, people go, "Oh, you're working on the weekends." It doesn't feel like that to me, right? To me, it feels like, "Hey, I'm able to take off 4 hours in the middle of a workday to go be with the kids, make dinner, do whatever, because that's where my values are." I think the solutions to the problems, you know, figure out what you want, right? And then from there, how open can you be on how to get it, which includes things like, I built a website, but I don't really want to write articles because I'm not a writer. This is the most common thing that I hear from therapists. Like they'll say, I'm skilled, I could talk. Okay, great. You know what I want you to do? Pull the microphone out on your phone, get a topic and speak it, right? Do that into a Google Doc and then go edit the Google Doc that you spoke and you'll be shocked at what you created, right? So I think getting outside of the four walls of what you expect your solutions are to look like, right? I would say that. Um, does that is that
It does. And here's the common challenge that I find with every human. You can't see the label when you're from inside the bottle.
right?
It's on the outside. I have a coach
I have a
because
coach.
I can't see
Me too.
problems that I'm creating, and my solutions are I don't like to write.
Yeah.
Now, I'll coach someone, why don't you speak it? But I
Hmm.
can't see that when I'm talking about me because I'm in the bottle. I'm in the liquid. I
Yeah.
can't see it. So I think that's great advice. And I also phrase that as you don't know what you don't know.
That's totally true. And that's why coaching is so helpful, right? So that's why having someone when you can say, this is where I'm stuck. This is where, these are the solutions. I want this. I can't figure out how to get there. And somebody who thinks it, I mean, we all have different brains. That's the other part, right? Your brain may be way linear. My brain may be like, whoa, I'm all over the place. Like I got all kinds of creative ideas. I might need to be reined in. You might need to be like let out.
Yeah.
So having different, like, I think that the entrepreneurial world can be really small at times too. We don't network. We don't leave our houses. We work from home. We're in our own echo chamber. We talked about this a little earlier, right? Like echo chambers are borderline dangerous, right? So, because you're just, to your point, like you're in the bottle and you're just hearing the message in the bottle. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta, get out and say, well, how else are other people doing it? And that's a great place for AI, right? So AI can be a great thinking partner for people. And ChatGPT is different than Perplexity, is different than Claude, is different than Gemini, right? So if you're going to use AI as a thinking partner, you can silo your thoughts so that they're not shared with the world. And you can definitely go, okay, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? And you can go back and forth and back and forth. And it will help you understand like what your core questions are and help you think through where you're stuck. There's a point when you're stuck that no AI agent is going to solve that. You must get another person, right? That's where a coach, and really the big question here is time, right? Because time happens whether you spend 5 hours on an AI bot and get nowhere, or you spend 1 hour with a coach who is worth their weight and their salt, then they can kick you over the finish line and get you everything you need. You have to sort of ask yourself where you're being penny smart and pound foolish too,
Yeah.
because, scaling is not, these are big questions. These are the things that keep you up at night when you're like, oh my gosh, how do I pay the bills? And how do I blah, blah, blah? Right. We all have the same worries. Your relationship with money, your relationship with your word, your relationship with your goals are critical parts of all of this. So, I think all of that plays into it, but just getting brave to ask the questions is the first step.
Yeah. Yeah. So many business owners are in silos.
Yeah.
And it's stunning to me as a coach and a facilitator and a mastermind
Yeah.
facilitator how few business owners have discovered the value of a mastermind, whether it's self created or whatever. And I think there's another thing like, I can't say I don't know how to do it to colleagues because then I'm appearing like I don't
Looking good.
know. I'm not looking good.
Yeah.
But the value of, by the way, the value of our conversation back and forth today has
Uh-huh.
moved my business forward because we're just talking about the things that we're interested in, but I'm learning, talking with another business owner. And there's so much value in that. Like, go be your expert and go find people that can do the things that you don't have the time or the energy. And I hear
Yeah.
business owners saying, I don't really have the money. When you identify what the challenge is, you can find people that will help you, that you can do something in trade.
100%. Yes.
I can find a web designer and I can go put in more electrical outlets in every room in their house.
Exactly.
And it's a win. I'm thrilled to be able to do that. And right. And so it's a win-win, but too often business owners see only the roadblock
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
don't say, well, if I had to be creative, right? Which is the question. If I had to be creative to get around this, if my life depended on it, what would I do? Well, if my life depended, then I'm going to start asking some people. I have this problem. Has
Yeah.
anybody ever solved this problem before?
That's
And
great.
slowly but surely you start to come up with that. So,
Mhm.
any final words that you'd like to share? Because I think you answered that question. Not only what's a piece of advice you'd give your clients to move their business, but every client. I think you answered that all at once. Anything, any closing thoughts you'd like to share?
Don't be afraid of AI. Right. I think I will say that. Right. So many, I mean, listen, like it's humongous and it's all over the place. It's been all over the place before you even realized it was all over the place. Finding a way to think about AI as a partner in the business and what it could do, whether it's a chatbot on your website or it's a, like you're just thinking through a chapter in your book with it, right? There's a million different ways to open your mind up. I was reading an article yesterday about, and I think they said it the best. They said, it's the thing that's been happening all around us, to your point about the bottle, that we never even noticed. What AI is unearthing are questions that people have been asking on Quora, on Reddit, not necessarily in search. They've been asking on Facebook and Instagram, not necessarily on Quora or Reddit, right? But they're all out there.
Yeah.
So use it as a partner and don't be afraid of it. It's coming, right?
Yeah.
And it's here. So learn to use it for your benefit, and then it won't be something that's the big boogeyman. It's something you have to be afraid
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go play. Go
Go
play.
for it.
Ask
Yeah.
some silly questions. See if you can stump it. See if you can. How do you, what, when, what, how do I grow geraniums? Like, go with the simpler. Give me, I want to start geranium seeds and
Yeah.
I live in this climate. When should I start them? Create,
That's what I think is so good because it allows people to have a longer question, right? Make me a cookie recipe with no flour, no gluten of any kind that melts in your mouth and can be baked at room temperature. That's a ridiculous question,
it
right?
is a
But it'll
ridiculous.
have an answer.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's a ridiculous question. Don't ask that question. No, but there are no bake
Yeah.
or low, time bake or freezer bake or
Yeah.
fridge bake, right? Opportunities that it knows about. So go and play. So don't put serious questions in there. Just start playing.
Yeah.
Start to feel your way, have a childlike wonder. Like, I wonder if it can tell me this. I wonder if it could tell me this.
Here's
I've
a fun
asked
thing
it.
to do.
I've
Have
asked
you
it. Do
thought
you
about
know how
yourself?
to do this? And they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, not really, not yet. Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks for
great.
telling me. Yeah,
Have you asked it about yourself?
I have done.
That's a fun thing to
I've
do.
had it write some bios for me.
Yeah.
I've had it I put the goals in and say, what's a day in the life look like of me when I've hit all my goals? It's made me cry. It
Mm.
said some amazingly nice things about me that, I've asked it about my blind spots because like you, I've put thousands of prompts into one specific language learning model. So it knows me pretty well. What are my blind spots? What are my weak spots?
Yeah.
What's my DNA? Like what's my sweet spot? Where's the gold?
Yeah.
And it's always really like, how does it know me better than me? And people can find that creepy. You don't have
Mhm.
to do that. But ask it questions about I had to write a letter, a stern letter to a client that I wanted to continue to work for but had stepped over some lines. That I knew that if I didn't call it out that I was at risk for a long-term thing. And I was kind of mad, so I really couldn't write it. And I
Mhm.
said, I have to write this thing. Here's what happened, but I have to continue to work with this client, but I want to set boundaries and expectations. Now, I didn't use what it wrote, but it shifted me into the energy to be able to write that letter from a high level, right?
Mhm.
It was able to get me out of my anger so that I
Mhm.
could think clearly about here's what I didn't like, here's how I'd prefer it to have been, here's
Mhm.
what I'd like it to be going forward. I'd love to have a dialogue with you so that we could discuss it, right? Right? To open it up to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it just, I'd have gotten there, but it might have taken me 2 or 3 days to get out of the anger and the hurt.
Yeah.
To to be able to then think clearly. And I wanted to write it quickly because it happened and I wanted to address it right away. And by
Mhm.
the way, that person's still a client and we created boundaries and it's great.
That's
You,
perfect.
you
That's a
know,
great, great resolution.
yeah, yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much. Thank you to you, Emily, for Emily, Melanie, for being here. For those of you that need the support that Melanie can provide, you can reach out to Crownsville Media. Thank you for listening to Business Bridge to Breakthrough. And if you want to find us, you can find us wherever you find your podcast, or you can find us the video version on YouTube. And we'll see you next time.